Hello everyone, this is Diablo Sinz. In this video I'm going to cover how I like to play Rifle Warrior and the mindset that I keep while fighting other classes. First I'm going to go over the build. Here are the utility skills. You can pause on each one if you want to read them. The armor is not very different than what you normally see from warriors. It's full berserker, armor and weapons with superior rune of the scholar. On my rifle I'm using air and fire, and on my greatsword I'm using hydromancy and energy. You can go full berserker with your utilities as well. At this moment I'm using a soldier's back piece, and on occasions I like to use this ring. This build does not lack DPS, so sometimes it's fine to build a little extra toughness. Now I will give a few tips before showing fighting different classes. Keeping distance between yourself and your opponent is very important with this build. The 3 skill as well as the 5 skill in the greatsword allows you to create a gap between you and your opponent. The 4 skill with the rifle also is good for your evade and a immob. The number 4 skill with rifle grants immobilize as well as vulnerability. So if you press the skill and weapon swap before the evade happens, you can combo it with whirlwind or another CC attack from warrior. I recommend setting a stow weapon button. The 2 skill and 4 skill with greatsword can be cancelled by pressing stow weapon. On the rifle the 4 skill cannot. The 2 and 3 skill can be cancelled. On the greatsword the 3 skill and 5 skill cannot be cancelled, and that can be used to your advantage when fighting warriors to CC them. In order to cancel the animation you have to weapon swap. Usually when fighting any class, I like to start the fight off by using the 4 skill on the rifle. It allows me to create distance as well as see what the opponent's going to do. In this instance, he rushed me with the 5 skill on greatsword, so you can whirlwind through it as a counter and to create distance between you and your opponent. To continue the fight, I then use the 5 on the greatsword to create more distance between me and my opponent. He used shield, so I use signet might and headbutt to hit through it as well as endure pain, because in close quarters against base warrior they have a 20% DPS increase when they use the F1 skill. Now I just kite away, and when he closes distance I swap the greatsword, use my whirlwind to create more distance. At this instance he stays at a distance, which is good for me. Never run towards your opponent, always stay at a distance and force them to come to you. I dodge roll and use 4 skill expecting his shield bash. In this instance he uses whirlwind, so I can use a CC after that because you cannot cancel that weapon skill with a stow. In this video I'm fighting a bad warrior. He stands in his shield block, so I stow weapon to avoid myself from shooting myself in the face. He uses a bad whirlwind and lands a lucky CC because I couldn't see him well. I use my greatsword to create distance between us. He dodge roll to close the gap, so it gives me the opportunity to land a safe CC against him, and then I dodge roll quickly to avoid any burst. I then use my greatsword's F1 ability to give myself adrenal heal, and then use the whirlwind and 4 skill to create a gap. He rushes at me with his skill, which cannot be cancelled, so it gives me another opportunity to use the 5 skill on the rifle to create distance between us using a CC. At that moment I haven't used my signet of might yet, so he goes to block, and in this fight I'm fighting a mace shield warrior which can counter a rifle warrior very easily. They have a lot of CC and a lot of block. Here I dodge roll some of his CC and use my greatsword to create distance. He chases me using rush, which allows me to land a safe CC against him. I then dodge roll and go berserk for him to try to land an adrenal heal hit, of which I miss. It's very important to try not to use crippling or immob while the mace shield warrior is blocking, because it can really ruin the fight for you if you get mobbed or crippled fighting one of these. It allows them to close the distance on you a lot easier. As you can see, they have tons of CC, and right now I'm not doing a really good job at avoiding it. What's important is to just try to remain calm and try your best to keep up your adrenal heal while kiting. The adrenal heal works really well So if you can keep your adrenal heal up, you still have the opportunity to out-kite them and come back into the fight. Right here he uses whirlwind at me, which allows me to land another CC. Always try to land your CC after whirlwind, rush, or a dodge roll, and that goes for any class. When fighting other classes as well, after they dodge roll, you can land a safe CC against them. At this moment he's able to land a headbutt on me, but I can counter it right after with my headbutt because my headbutt breaks stun as well as causes a CC on him. You don't want to 100 blades too long because as soon as the stun breaks, warriors typically whirlwind through just like that, so you want to avoid that. Now I just use my Signet of Might and finish the fight. In this fight I'm fighting Necro. It's very important to avoid them when they're in Shroud form because they can do massive amounts of damage in melee range. Here he swaps the Shroud, so I use my Whirlwind and Rush ability to create distance between us. He's smart and he doesn't chase, he tries to use LOS, which is fine. I let a headbutt and a rifle butt, and I usually could get Adrenal here right here, but I got obstructed on the tree. He comes back in Shroud form and I dodge roll him and he goes out of it, so I keep my pressure up on him, and right here, that animation he was going to use a CC against me, but I was able to interrupt it luckily with my F1 ability. Typically you want to dodge roll that. Now he went back in Shroud and rushed at me and I was able to use my force skill and avoid him. Now I can Whirlwind and use Rush to get away from him. At this point he's going to run away, but that's pretty much the low key details on how to duel against Necro. Druid is pretty much one of the few classes that you have to keep pressure up on even as a rifle warrior. Especially this guy, he's double range, so he's going to be able to try to kite me well. Here he uses his ability that blocks my range. I do not use my Signet of Might because I do not have kill shot. I don't want to waste it. As he staffs away, I'm able to land the kill shot easily and keep up my Adrenal heal. Adrenal heal is very important to upkeep in this fight because they can dwindle you down with their sustain. He tried to use rapid fire with his longbow there and I was able to whirlwind through it. That is another important skill that you need to avoid, is the 3 or the rapid fire on the longbow, because it can also do massive amounts of damage. So during this fight you have to just constantly keep up as much pressure as you can while keeping your Adrenal heal up, or he'll slowly kill you. Right there I used the rush and I ate all of his rapid fire, which is very bad. You don't want to allow that to happen as much as possible. So that's mainly what you want to try to use your dodge rolls for, as well as your whirlwind skill on your greatsword. And try not to use them too much as mobility, because you can get caught in instances like that. Also be careful not to have the pet targeted. There I headbutted the pet, which is very bad. But this is another fight that you just want to try to stay calm and just try to keep up pressure. Try not to dodge roll too much for mobility, because it will lead you to eating some of his DPS attacks, which can be very bad, and you got to try to pace out your endure pain as well as your berserker stance. Here I downed him, and this is a very good opportunity for me to use my rifle's interrupt F1 skill, because I'm very low health. Here I headbutt the pet to interrupt him healing, and I kite away to LOS, that way I don't go down fighting the ranger. I get my rifle F1 skill up so I can shoot the pet with F1 and interrupt it. I didn't need to run up and use the rifle 5 skill, but for some reason I did. The pet goes into heal more, so I use F1 again to interrupt it, and it's low enough health that I can run in and now finish both of them and kill them. For this first fight against Thief, I would show what not to do. Here I do not use my 4 evade skill. The Thief steals to me and puts me at 50% instantly. On this clip, I want to show how I usually start a fight. I use the 4 skill on rifle, which evades, and you can see him steal to me and miss all of his DPS. Now that the fight's on even ground from me avoiding his DPS, I have to predict his next move. Thief fights are all about predicting their next move. Here I avoid his attack and whirlwind towards him to go on the aggressive. I'm waiting to predict his next attack. Here I dodge it. I use my berserker stance to prevent blind. I missed the headbutt, but I'm able to put some range pressure. When he goes to whirlwind, I use my signet of might and kill him off with a kill shot. For the last video against the Thief, most Thief fights last a lot longer than that one, but the fight still stays the same. It's about predicting when they're going to steal to you and try to attack you. I want to say thank you to that Thief for doing 15 or 20 duels with me. But just remember, when fighting thieves, you have to try to balance out when you use your berserker stance, and when you do use it, that is your moment to attack, because they cannot blind you. So you need to force them into a situation that they blink away, and when they blink away, usually right after that, you can try to kill shot them with Signet of Might. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed my video. That's all I'm going to do for this video. It's getting kind of long. In the future, I want to try to do another video showing how I would like to fight against DHs, maybe Revenants, as well as Mesmer, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank y'all for watching, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. Goodbye.